And it was stunning news out of Ann Arbor as the University of Michigan has fired Sherrone Moore as its head football coach earlier Wednesday following an investigation into Moore's conduct with a staff member. Following his dismissal, Moore was detained by police in Saline, Michigan, and was later in custody at the Washtenaw County Jail as a suspect in an alleged assault. Police said he remains in custody at this time. We welcome in Dan Wetzel, ESPN senior writer and contributor to the College Game Day podcast, based in Michigan. And Dan, there are a number of layers to this story which you have been reporting throughout the day. Let's work our way backwards with the timeline, which now includes a police report that sheds a bit of light. What do you understand about that timeline, as I say, working our way backwards?
Okay, so Michigan concluded an investigation into Sherrone Moore earlier Wednesday and determined with credible evidence that he had a inappropriate relationship with a staff member against university policy and his own contract, and he was immediately fired for cause. Soon after that, at about 4:10 p.m., Pittsfield Township Police, just outside Ann Arbor, responded to a call to residents where they were there to investigate an alleged assault. Sherrone Moore had left the place at that time and was later detained, as you said, by the Saline Police Department, which is another town a little bit outside of Ann Arbor, which then brought him back to Pittsfield Township. At 8:40 tonight, or 8:30 tonight, I'm sorry, he was brought to the Washtenaw County Jail, where he is in custody due to the alleged assault, and actual charges will be determined by the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office in the next day or so.
All right, so those are the very serious issues related to this storyline, and we will wait for the clarity and the details as they are forthcoming in the coming hours and days. As for the story, as we work our way back to what you mentioned, which is the firing of Sherrone Moore, and I just want to be frank here. I mean, in college football circles, this was not a closely held secret. There was a lot of smoke, a lot of innuendo, but you all aren't in the business of reporting that. So I guess what I'm going to ask as it relates to this dismissal and the investigation is, when was it that Michigan really felt like they might be in the business of needing to find a new head coach?
Well, I think the investigation began, recently. At least this part of the investigation into Sherrone Moore's conduct, and at least over a week ago. And like they said in their statement, you need credible evidence to make a firing, particularly for a cause of this situation. It's a very sensitive situation for everyone involved. And so that's when it took time. But I agree, there was a lot of rumors, there was a lot of gossip. It wasn't necessarily a closely held secret, but Michigan had their investigation. This is when they came up with in early December.
And again, there are so many layers to this, some legal and some as it just relates to the football program. And just to focus on the football piece of this, you've just had signing day. You've just had this wild cycle that's seen jobs at Penn State and LSU and Florida and on and on and on come open. And now here comes Michigan, which is one of the crown jewels in the sport. And I don't know who will be making the hire. There's a lot of questions regarding that. But just in terms, Dan, of the names that a program like Michigan might reasonably expect to be able to lure to Ann Arbor, who might we be looking at?
Yeah, the timing here isn't the best for Michigan. Had they done this, had this situation, this job opened a month ago, they and LSU would have been the prime jobs to people have, and probably in a different candidate pool with each one of them. It is a school with enormous resources and potential, a lot of money, biggest stadium in the country, huge fan base, all of that. So it is an attractive job. The names that get thrown out right away, you hear about Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, but I've been told he's very comfortable there. He's got a great recruiting class coming in, alignment portal. He seems pretty happy there. There's a number of other possibilities, whether it's Jed Fish up at Washington or Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, or who knows, really. Any of those types of guys might be in. Or they could go the NFL ranks. The issue for Michigan is a number of high-profile coaches and really desirable coaches just sign new deals either at the school they were at that may prevent all these guys that I just mentioned, or took new jobs. So instead of being the pick of the litter, they're coming in late on this cycle. But this is a very attractive job. I wouldn't be surprised if there was NFL interest in it. Harbaugh kind of proved that you can win big there and set up a system. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting job hunt, but it's not the perfect of timing for the Wolverines.
He joined the Wolverines as an assistant in 2018, served as an interim head coach for 4 games while Jim Harbaugh was suspended in 2023. He was then hired as the team's head coach following its national championship campaign, served a self-imposed 2-game suspension of his own this season, and then on Wednesday, the university fired him for, quote, credible evidence that he was involved in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member, close quote. He was detained by police shortly thereafter. We welcome ESPN college football analyst Greg McElroy to the program. And Greg, with the understanding, it's an admittedly difficult pivot from the seriousness of the news to the football piece, but obviously understanding that the football piece is your area of expertise, let's focus on Michigan as a job. Where it is on the top 10 or top 5, wherever you want to put it, lists, doesn't matter to me. It's one of the best. How do you think they should proceed at this time, given the fact that so many folks have now been locked up in other gigs?
Well, I think that's the challenging of the timing, Scotty, is that there would be a lot of really intriguing candidates, is that we already had kind of passed through the coaching carousel. So most of the most attractive guys that you would consider this time of year have been locked up to long-term deals, significant extensions, and significant bonuses and boosts. So I think that's going to be very interesting, is how do you navigate a possible buyout of someone that just got extended? Is that something that's on the table for Michigan? But let's be real. If you look at where the Big Ten is right now and the gap that exists between the top of the Big Ten, and I would go as far as to say that Michigan is absolutely in the top versus the bottom of the Big Ten or even the middle of the Big Ten, the pathway on an annual basis to get to a college football playoff game is more manageable in the state of Michigan, at Michigan. And I think many view that if you look at the Big Ten scheduling, you win 1 or 2 games, you're going to be in the mix for a playoff spot just about every year. And you're, of course, going to have ample resources at your disposal to try to staff the program appropriately and go get the very best players that you can afford. So it's a remarkably attractive job. And with the gap that is continuing to grow at the top of the Big Ten, I think it's getting more attractive by the day.
I just wonder, given the fact that there was significant chatter out there about this, if there is a candidate that might have held his name back from other possibilities if something like this were to happen. We'll get some clarity on that in the coming days and weeks as that situation plays out. Let's talk playoff, thankfully, the games that we've been waiting all season to see. And you've got, I think, the best one of the opening round, and that's A&M and Miami. We had Dusty Dvorak in here talking about the Maroon Goons going up against that rugged D-line for Miami. Line of scrimmage game's a cliche, but isn't that what we're looking at in College Station, Greg?
I'm not sure if I could type into an AI algorithm, hey, give me the best possible line of scrimmage matchup I can find in the first round. I think I might get this matchup between Miami and Texas A&M. I mean, if you look at the pros on the line of scrimmage for both defensive lines for both Miami and A&M, I mean, they have 5 or 6 guys that could hear their name called in this upcoming draft. There are so many quality pieces along both defensive lines. And I don't think we should overshadow the offensive lines as well. You mentioned the Maroon Goons. That's Texas A&M's group. They're amazing across the board. Veteran, deep, athletic, good in pass pro and in the run game. And they've done a great job protecting a very active quarterback in Marcel Reed all throughout the season. But I'm going to be honest with you, Scotty. I don't think Texas A&M, and they play in the SEC, I don't think they've seen a defensive end duo like they've seen in Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain that they'll see next Saturday morning. That will be an absurd matchup between that offensive line and that defensive line. And then on the other side, Miami's got Francis Maui-Noah at right tackle. It might be one of the first tackles off the board going against Cassius Howell, a double-digit sack guy in the SEC. That's a matchup that's just made for NFL draft gurus. So it is a line of scrimmage game, but the quarterbacks and the personnel at wide receiver should not be overshadowed, because there's a lot of juice at wide out for both teams, and both quarterbacks, when playing well, can play about as good as anyone in the country.
Greg McElroy, look forward to the calls throughout the playoffs. A fantastic season you've had already. Have a great Christmas if we don't talk between now and somewhere between the holidays and the New Year and all the rest. Be well, brother.
want this, you got that. Don't wait, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let 'em